Dr. Bishwakarma, thank you very much for joining our interview series. Let me start right away with the first question.
Yeah.
Analysts framed the September 2025 uprising as a Generation Z revolution. From your perspective, how did entrenched caste-based inequalities and elite hegemony intersect with rising youth discontent to generate this rupture? And to what extent should we interpret this upheaval as a repudiation of Nepal's long-standing populist authoritarian bargains between ruling elites and marginalized publics?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Of course, we have to look through different perspective at this stage for the Nepal recent political uprising. From caste inequalities point of view, definitely this movement or this uprising could have done much better than this one. To be honest, it hasn't really addressed the issue of caste inequalities. Basically, Gen Z, they started this movement against corruption and any form of elite hegemony in ruling system in Nepal. So in a way, it is against any form of discrimination, but specifically it is addressing the issue of corruption and the issue of social media ban by the government of Nepal. In this sense, I should say caste issue hasn't been central point of issue for the Gen Z movement, and they haven't specifically addressed this issue. And I know this is really a difficult situation, and this is a key issue of Nepal, but at this stage, Gen Z could not directly address the issue of caste inequalities, but they were basically resisting any form of Nepo baby issue and the elitism or the ruling class people. They were in power and they didn't specifically address the issue of marginalized communities. So I have to say that the uprising is not specifically on the issue of caste discrimination or any other forms of discrimination. It was mainly targeting the corruption in Nepal. Thank you.
Much of the mobilization was digital and youth-led. How do you interpret the relationship between Nepal's semi-feudal social order and the emergence of digitally mediated political subjectivities among Generation Z, particularly in light of global debates on how new media both enables and disciplines democratic dissent?
Yeah, looking at the Nepalese development process recently, social media has been one of the area where there is a massive change or there was massive development in digitalization in Nepal or digital transformation, we should say. Basically, the use of or access to the phone, access to social media is really important change. That is the main reason why Generation Z they were affiliated to each other or in different groups, and they became associated to the different groups, and they started creating resistance against any form of corruption and other issues. But looking at the society itself, Nepal is still semi-feudal, and there are so many discrimination and so many things to happen. But that hasn't really addressed the digitalization hasn't gone into specifically to the rural areas or to different parts of the society. So yes, youth are really friendly with the social media, and they are using this tool to change or to make any form of issues. Youth, basically, they did not understand, or somehow they understand the social issues or deep-rooted issues, root cause of the social issues. So they could have raised the issue of caste inequalities or any form of inequalities, poverty, under development, unemployment, all this, that would be much better. But you're just focusing on 2 points, which is corruption and ban of social media. So this is basically not giving us real chance of getting more changes in Nepal, or there is not much transformational change in other form of issues. Yes, of course, this uprising has changed the government, but at the end of the day, we are not seeing the outcome which basically many people of Nepal are looking for or expecting. Thank you.
Right. The discourse against Nepo kids suggests a moral economy of resentment. Do you see this as a continuation of older struggles against caste privilege and elite reproduction, or as a qualitatively new form of digitally amplified populist class politics rooted in spectacle and effect?
Yes, of course, you are right that this Nepo baby movement or against this form of movement is, yeah, basically warranted in social media, and of course it is against any form of elite hegemony in country, but it is not directly addressing the issues of caste discrimination, because we can see that in the leadership of Gen Z movement, not many youths from so-called marginalized or so-called lower caste people are in that community as such. So they are not in leadership. They are also not getting that opportunity. So yes, so many of youths from different class or different community, they might have joined the resistance, but they are not in leadership position. So basically, it is just symbolic resistance against any form of elite hegemony or the authoritarian rule, authoritarian governance, but they are not specifically addressing the issues of caste and other marginalized group. It means that this is just resistance against political leaders, Nepo baby, or any form of elite authoritarian in Nepal.
Right. With symbols of state power ablaze, some argue the uprising reflected anarchic nihilism, while others see as a democratic refounding. Do you interpret this as a destructive rejection of institutions or as the embryonic formation of what might be called a post-elitist, post-authoritarian democratic imagination?
We have to look from basically from two perspective here in this sense as well. Yes, of course, we can see it is post elitist or elitist movement, and there is a reimagination of new democratic process in Nepal. But the way it has gone to the political system, or after this uprising, the formation of interim government, and basically they are basing with the current constitution, and there is not much change in different, let's say, governance system. Gen Z, they demanded directly elected prime minister or directly elected presidential system, and change into the electoral system and other forms of reformation, and strictly action against any corrupted political parties. But that is not much happening, because after that uprising, there is interim government led by former Chief Justice and other independent leaders who are very well known in the country. But they are still basing the different articles of the constitution. It means there is no suspension of this constitution, and there is no guarantee of directly elected prime minister or president system. There is no guarantee of a different electoral process, which will guarantee the representatives of all the communities and all different communities and or marginalized groups. It means there is no as such real outcome after this process. So basically, we can say this is destruction in the political institution and destruction, but there is not much real change, and the people are expecting more in-depth change or reformation than this political outcome. So I'm not really hopeful that it will bring as a change in the country.
All right. Your book stresses the twin imperatives of redistribution and recognition in the struggle for Dalit justice. Do you see Nepal's Generation Z revolution as embodying these imperatives, or does this populist anger risk collapsing recognition into resentment and redistribution, into vague anti-elitist rhetoric?
Thank you for this question as well. Yeah, I again would like to emphasize that yes, we are expecting much more change or in-depth change or reformation. As I stated in my book as well, to address the issues of Dalit and other marginalized group in Nepal, there should be total reformation or redistribution of the resources, state resources, and the recognition of communities like Dalit in Nepal. But after this youth-led or Generation Z-led uprising as well, we are not seeing that much redistribution, or it is not going to happen, the total reformation in the country. So it means that there is lots of things to do. Though the Constitution of Nepal in 2015 that addressed quite a much issues, for example, social inclusion, issues of and, so many different things. Yeah, republic system, social inclusion, and you know, there is different forms of governance. For example, local government, federal government, state government, and so much thing happened after that new constitution. But there is not real change happening in the issues of caste discrimination and other forms of discrimination. And people are like a youth, they are really looking fast change and fast development in Nepal, which really didn't happen during that period after 2015 as well. Or if we really say from 2006-8, there was, a Republican system in 2008. After that, people also expected much, much more real change in Nepal, so that there will be development, there will be opportunities, there will be inclusion. Yes, there were some symbolic inclusion in the parliament and in other state mechanism. Dalit and other marginalized people also were included, and women's and other people were included in the parliamentary system. But yeah, looking at the rural area or the people in local area, they didn't feel that much sense. So there was high unemployment, high corruption. So from that perspective, yes, of course, there is so much things to happen in Nepal, and total reformation should be there, rather than symbolic resistance and symbolic change. This particular uprising um, has, yes, is a revolt or resistance against any form of elite authoritarianism, but it is also not really changing that much, or it is not bringing the total reformation in Nepal.
Right. Despite legal prohibitions, everyday caste discrimination persists. To what degree do Gen Z protests transcend entrenched caste boundaries, and how do you assess whether Dalit youth achieve disproportionate visibility or conversely remain marginal in this anti-authoritarian mobilization?
Again, thank you so much for this very good question. Yes, as I stated before, Dalit again seem to be marginalized in this process as well, because we can't see even a single a person leading Gen Z movement. Or if you look at the composition of Gen Z leaders, I can't see any Dalit being in that position. And yes, of course, there were a couple of people were killed during that protest, and there are some martyrs as well. But as in the leadership position, I can't see any Dalit member being included in that process, meaning that this protest was not specifically raising the issue of caste inequalities and other forms of discrimination in Nepal. It was more onto anti-corruption or more onto ban of social media. Yes, of course, that is really important for the development of nation, but looking at the specific issues like caste inequalities and other forms of discrimination, and there are so many social and other aspects of issues which hasn't really addressed by this movement. That's why I'm again saying that in the case of caste and other forms of discrimination, we need another forms of revolt or resistance that really address the issue of caste, so that there will be no discrimination, there will be other opportunities for marginalized communities, and there will be development in Nepal.
Right. Federal restructuring and the 2015 Constitution promised inclusive representation, yet inequalities remain deeply institutionalized. Did the 2025 uprising expose the limitations of Nepal's federalism as a tool for substantive equality, or was it more a populist indictment of the state's moral legitimacy?
Yeah, I have also already mentioned this issue specifically before, but I would like to again put forward my point that yes, 2015 Constitution specifically addressed the issue of social inclusion. And because of that Constitution, uh, that there is a representation of marginalized groups, including Dalit and other women and ethnic communities in parliament and local and state government as well. But as such, it hasn't specifically addressed the issue of caste inequalities or everyday discrimination. There are so many discrimination happening widespread to the country, but the government mechanism or the law enforcement mechanism is not effective, or they are really biased. That's the reason they are not implementing this law. Yes, there is law against caste-based discrimination. There is an act in 2000 which was specifically implemented after 2011, and 2015 Constitution has also clearly mentioned that there should not be discrimination in the country, or that the caste discrimination is against the law, and there is rights for Dalit and other marginalized communities. But um, only law does not guarantee the rights, and only law does not prevent all forms of discrimination or discrimination happening throughout the country. So there should be effective implementation mechanism like police and other administration that really seriously takes the issue of discrimination. But at the moment, there is absence of those effective mechanism, or there is absence of Dalit member in the law enforcement mechanism, that is creating such vacuum, and it is not giving much hope to the people, specifically from lower and Dalit communities in Nepal.
Right. Critics warn that anti-corruption and anti-nepotism discourses can easily be co-opted by authoritarian populists who claim to purify politics while entrenching new hierarchies. Do you see parallels between the risks inherent in caste-based identity mobilization and the dangers of these anti-elite narratives?
Yes, of course. I agree with that point because yes, this recent youth uprising or Gen Z movement is against elite authoritarian government or government system, or the leaders who were leading the government in Nepal. But there is always, issue of caste identity or the representation issue, and all or most of the leaders who were leading Gen Z movement are again from the higher caste, and there are not many Dalits and other marginalized group included in that, leading position or process. So that also clearly exemplify that, again, the caste inequality or caste identity is not specifically addressed through this uprising, though it could have been done much better than this one. And yeah, this is, looking at the core issue of the movement is basically around anti-corruption and social media ban. So it means that they didn't provide much attention to other social issues like caste discrimination, and uh, on employment or other forms of issues in the country. So there is always a risk behind it if the youth and other people who are involved in such type of movement, they don't really understand the social issues or social fabric and social, the history of the Nepal, and what are the real things, real change needed to happen in the country. Then it's always, superficial. And another point which I want to put forward is, even though they are young and they are really led by social media and digital transformation, their mindset is still, oriented, or they are taught by their family, parents, and society that, they also come from that elite background, and they really enjoy the caste supremacy. That is a real risk and real danger. So, meaning that in future as well, even though they are in power, and or even though they lead the movement or any political process, or they go in the power and they become minister or prime minister, again, they are not going to directly address the issue of caste discrimination and other forms of discrimination. So that is real risk and real danger in the recent context in Nepal. Thank you.
Right, right. Nepal's Maoist insurgency once mobilized Dalits and marginalized groups in large numbers, but its legacy was one of institutional capture and elite circulation. How do today's youth movements relate to or explicitly repudiate this Maoist populist authoritarian inheritance?
Yes, yeah, many people, um, yeah, now looking that, Maoist revolt is, again, another form of elite authoritarian process, and there is not much change. But of course, we need to look at from the historical point of view that, Nepal was led by a king, and there was not much opportunity. There was, yes, democracy, but there was not much things happening, and there was no inclusion. But after this Maoist movement, we can see so many things happen. For example, inclusion issue was really raised by this movement, and after that movement, a new constitution promulgated. New constitution also guaranteed the issues of social inclusion, guaranteed the issues of secularism, guaranteed the issues of republic federal system in the country. Yes, but not real change was happening there. That was the point where change was happening, but people were expecting much more faster change in terms of corruption, in terms of unemployment, in terms of other development in the country. Yeah, corruption was one of the big issue, and Maoist, when they were in power, they were trying to address this corruption issue as well. That is the reason, there was change in the government. The main political leaders like Nepali Congress and CP and UML, they came together and they made the coalition government, and they threw out Maoist from the power. So that elite resistance was there. Again, elite people, they were trying to control, and other people also, yes, of course, they are saying that yes, Maoist also became elite, and they were involved in corruption. They didn't deliver they didn't deliver real change in the country. That was also blame or allegation. Yeah, we should say blame to the Maoist party. But because of the electoral system, which was which was basically the uh, agreement between those political parties in 2015. That was not the electoral system um, demanded by Maoist party. Maoist party basically they were on or in favor of full proportional electoral system, but there was an agreement that they will go through the first past the post electoral system. So this electoral system never provide full majority to any single political party in the country. So that is the main reason why the government was frequently changing in the country, because there was no full majority to any particular political party. That's the reason they again formed coalition uh, to each another, and then there was frequent changes in the government. That's the reason this youth uprising also demanded that there should be directly elected prime minister or presidential system, and the electoral system should be different, and state funded electoral system should be there. But after this uprising as well, there is no such thing happening, because there is no parliament. Parliament has the rights to amend the constitution, but the parliament has been dissolved at the moment. So there is not much change is happening. We will see, we just need to wait and see what interim government does. Interim government, one of the mandate of the interim government is just to happen or do another uh, election in the country. After the election, we just need to wait and see what form of government will be there, whether there will be majority for a single political party or not, or whether there will be youth-led political party participates in the election or not. This is the things we need to see in future. Thank you.
Right. Your scholarship emphasizes Dalit demands for recognition alongside material redistribution. Do you think the revolutionary anger of Generation Z risks dissolving such group specific claims into a homogenized anti elite populism that reproduces old exclusions under new slogans?
Yes, um, while doing my research, basically I argued for two things. For Dalit communities in Nepal, there should be total reformation and recognition of Dalit community, because within the Dalit community also there are so many different groups, and there is not much unity. And to make them united on their common issue, there should be recognized group politics. So that is the reason I said there should be, group politics for the Dalit community, and that should be recognized by the political parties and state machinery. In other side of the aspect or the argument is redistribution of the state resources, state positions, and for example, land reform and so many things. But even the new constitution of Nepal 2015, that really did not address the direct redistribution or recognition of. Yes, to some extent it addressed the issues of Dalit recognition by the constitution, but that is superficial. And in terms of representation, because there was no full proportional electoral system in the country because of that new constitution. There was no guarantee of 13%, 13% representation from Dalit community, because the Dalit claim, or the beauty of aesthetics also shows that Dalit has around 13% of population. Um, In this sense, I always argue that there should be total reformation. That reformation should really address the issue of caste discrimination, issue of non-representation, issue of unemployment and poverty, and all that. But partially, the 2015 Constitution addressed, but um, the recent uprising and the new process hasn't specifically addressed the issue of caste inequalities or any form of discrimination. So I'm not really hopeful that the new process, which is the new election and new parliament, will address the issue of inequality directly, because there is no new constitution is going to happen. I don't know, because what sort of political parties will again come back or will make a government, whether there will be absolute majority of one political party or not, or whether there will be youth-led government or not, because it is not clear at this stage. That's why I'm not 100% sure that the new process will also specifically address the issue of caste inequalities or the issue of Dalit.
Right,
Thank you.
right. And lastly, Dr. Bishwakarma, Sri Lanka's Aragalaya and Bangladesh 2024 uprising both toppled governments but slid toward renewed authoritarian populism or elite restoration. What lessons should Nepal's Generation Z revolution draw from these trajectories if it is to avoid similar cycles of disappointment?
Yes, you're right that that the recent examples from Sri Lanka and Bangladesh and any other form of civic resistance in other parts of the world, that we can draw the lesson that though there is revolt or there is resistance against any form of elite authoritarian, that exactly happened in Sri Lanka, that exactly happened in Bangladesh, and that exactly happened in Nepal. There is similarities, because youth, they want total reformation, youth, they want development and change in the country, and that exactly happened in Bangladesh. But at the end of the day, the political process didn't go in that direction. So looking at Bangladesh, yes, there was revolt against the government, and the prime minister, she left the country, she went to India, and there is new government now, new interim government, but even there is election is not happening. So same thing can happen in Nepal. There is interim government. Youth, they demanded independent person to be prime minister in Nepal, and that's the reason the chief justice, she became prime minister for the interim government, and her mandate is to organize election or complete the election as soon as possible by the given deadline. But looking at the political process at the moment, it is not going in right direction. Whether there will be election or not, we are not hopeful. People are speculating whether there will be election or not in the given deadline, because they haven't really begin the dialogue with political parties. At the end of the day, this is democracy, and political parties has to be main stakeholder, and they haven't started dialogue with the political parties, because without the political parties, democratic election cannot be held, and they cannot just organize the election uh, without any agreement between those political parties. So I'm not hopeful that whether there will be real change, whether there will be addressing the issues of Gen Z movement by this interim government and the new government after the election. So we should say that yes, this is the real resistance against elite authoritarian system in Nepal, but the result is not going in real good direction. So, or the outcome is not coming as expected by the people of Nepal. So I'm not really hopeful that the new process will address the specific issues, something like caste inequalities or caste discrimination, because until and unless we um, uproot or destroy the caste system in Nepal, there will be always discrimination. So if there is no new constitution, or if there is no new any specific um, program that will uproot the caste system, then again, marginalized group like Dalit and others, um, they'll be facing such discrimination in future as well. So we will see what will happen, but at the moment, it is very not clear. It is very unclear that what sort of change will be there even after the new election in Nepal. Thank you.
Right. Dr. Bishwakarma, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.